Now we're in Virginia. That was looking over into Virginia, but just barely a couple feet really in on the Virginia line there, and heading over into Kentucky. It started out there. I was on top of Black Mountain, which is the highest point in Kentucky. And when you come down off the mountain, you come down into Lynch, which is an old coal town. Uh, at one point, I've always heard, I assume it's true, uh, Lynch was the biggest coal town, biggest coal camp in the country, maybe the world. It was huge at one point. Now there's not even 1,000 people here. Nothing really in Lynch to do, but there's remnants of the old coal industry that was going on here. Even an old coal mine you can tour, which we're not going to check that out today. We're actually here to check out the old Lynch School. It was two schools. It was Lynch. I think one was elementary and one was the high school, and they were side by side. And we'll get there and check that out in just a minute. Kind of take a grand tour as best we can. This is just some of the old the leftover stuff from the big boom of the coal industry back in the day. Being a big part of the coal industry in the early to mid 1900s, kind of also went hand in hand with being a big part of the railroad industry. There was the old train depot there in Lynch, which is still standing and looks good today. And then there's a train that sits here behind it, which you can kind of go in. I'm not sure if it's meant to be gone in and explored, but you can go right on up, and everything's just sort of open to check out, which is kind of cool to get on and check out this old train. Cool to go in the caboose too and sort of see how people lived when they were working this long term on the railroad. Nobody was around, but there was a fishing pole and a tackle box in here. Somebody had stashed, I guess. But we didn't see anybody. And then headed just right down the road, and right beside the road, right by the main road that runs through Lynch, is the two school buildings, the old schools. They're in pretty rough shape now. They've not been used in years, but it's cool to go through them and check out what we could. So we'll head inside here in just a second. Back in its heyday, I guess there would have been a lot of kids going to these schools. Lynch used to have a hospital. It's long gone. Movie theater. It's long gone. Just not enough people around. Not enough jobs, I'm sure, around these days. Couple people from Lynch over the years. Politicians. One was worked for Jimmy Carter, and then another was a little more recent, and she was a U.S. rep from the state of New York, or of the state of New York, but she was from here in Lynch, Kentucky. Going through the old school, I don't know much of the history or any history of it. It looks kind of similar in design to some of the schools from my hometown that have been long gone, that were long gone before my lifetime. So I'm guessing this would have been built 1940s, somewhere in there, but that's just a guess. Big buildings, both of them side by side. Not sure when they were last used either. There's some kind of recent-ish desks we used back in the 80s and 90s. I don't know if it was used any more recent than that, or even then. A little weird stuff. This room had a lot of bicycles in it. Not a ton of vandalism. I think a lot of this is just age, probably, over the years. And I'm sure this place is filled with asbestos, but all things considered, it's in good enough shape to walk through. Probably not smart, but yeah, we did it anyway. So about 10 years ago, PBS did a documentary about Lynch called the Eastern Kentucky Social Club. It was about the black communities and the immigrant communities that came here to Lynch, I guess, to work in the coal mines. Something that's still kind of unique about Lynch, there's a big Catholic church here, which is not something you usually see in the Appalachian region here in the coal mine communities of Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, Southwest Virginia, that sort of area. Right next door to Lynch, there's another little coal community called Benham. Kind of runs, you leave Lynch and just drive right into Benham a few minutes later. And there's an old school building there too. I don't think it's this old, and it's actually still in use as something. That's not a school, but it's been turned into a hotel. It's called the Benham Schoolhouse Inn. I've been through there, but I've never stayed in it. I've walked through it. There's tales of it being haunted and stuff, but it's cool. We'll have to check it out at some point. It's still got the lockers in the hallways, and the classrooms have been turned into hotel rooms. And it's just right down, kind of one big area, but they are two distinct towns, though there's not much in either one of them anymore, unfortunately. And talking about Benham, that place that's right down the road, somebody kind of famous from there is Bernie Bickerstaff. At least famous within pro sports. He's an NBA. He was a player too, but he's something now for the Cleveland Cavaliers. In the past, he's been head coach for the Lakers and Supersonics. I think the Denver Nuggets. So he's had a career in the NBA, and he's from this area, the town next door, Benham, Kentucky. Kind of get some vibes in these buildings of some old war-torn buildings, some bombed-out buildings, but I'm sure these don't have much more time left in them before they come crumbling the rest of the way down. This one that we're in now, the second building that we went into, seemed to be in worse shape than the other. A lot of it had already kind of caved in on itself. I'm sure it won't be long before the rest of it kind of does too. You kind of see here, this whole part you just couldn't go through. It was falling in. I'm not sure what this room would have been if it had been a classroom. Really big room, and I like that window there, kind of in the middle. It'd been cool to be in a classroom having class with a window like that. But this one was in pretty rough shape. You can kind of see there, nothing to walk through in that part. Even the floor right here where we're walking, not necessarily the most stable thing to put your weight on, but we made it through, and we'll work our way back through the auditorium here and get back out of this building and head on back down to some more stable ground. And that's it for our tour of these two buildings here in Lynch, Kentucky. Just a little place now in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains there of Kentucky, just over the border from Southwest Virginia. Got a cool bar here in town. I don't know if it's made out of coal, but I think that represents coal anyway. Back over by the train depot, the old train station. But that's it, and we're gonna head on out of here, and we'll see what else we can get into.